Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people but the silence over that by the good people. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. If a man has not discovered something that he will die for, he isn't fit to live. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. This is why right, temporarily defeated, is stronger than evil triumphant. Our scientific power has outrun our spiritual power. We have guided missiles and misguided men. Man must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. Everything that we see is a shadow cast by that which we do not see. Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness. A man dies when he refuses to stand up for that which is right. A man dies when he refuses to stand up for justice. A man dies when he refuses to take a stand for that which is true. We must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. There is some good in the worst of us and some evil in the best of us. When we discover this, we are less prone to hate our enemies. Rarely do we find men who willingly engage in hard, solid thinking. There is an almost universal quest for easy answers and half-baked solutions. Nothing pains some people more than having to think. If we are to go forward, we must go back and rediscover those precious values, that all reality hinges on moral foundations and that all reality has spiritual control. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. I look to a day when people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle, the tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals. We are not makers of history. We are made by history. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. An individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. Capitalism does not permit an even flow of economic resources. With this system, a small privileged few are rich beyond conscience, and almost all others are doomed to be poor at some level. That's the way the system works. And since we know that the system will not change the rules, we are going to have to change the system. History will have to record that the greatest tragedy of this period of social transition was not the strident clamor of the bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people. There can be no deep disappointment where there is not deep love. A nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual doom. Discrimination is a hellhound that gnaws at Negroes in every waking moment of their lives to remind them that the lie of their inferiority is accepted as truth in the society dominating them. Almost always, the creative, dedicated minority has made the world better. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go to the mountain. And I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor, it must be demanded by the oppressed. He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetrate it. He who accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it. A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus but a molder of consensus. Whatever your life's work is, do it well. A man should do his job so well that the living, the dead, and the unborn could do it no better. Whatever affects one directly, affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of reality.